in the dashboard. Now you can also program. Okay, and last but not least is the extended reality. Yeah, in Google product, if I'm not mistaken, it is called as Google Lens, yeah, or Google Glasses. I'm not sure whether they are in Indonesia or not. So, yeah, for this one, I guess they are still in preview and development. I don't want to explain to you too much about this. Okay, so let's go back to the phone and tablet. Yeah, later on, when you try this, you will see so many options. Yeah, you can create something with the navigation. You can also create something with the drawer already. Yeah, so this is something that you can use, the template that you can use. Even you can try to create a game activity. But some limitation of the game activity is that in Android Studio, if you want to create a game activity, therefore, you have to use C++. Okay, I'm not sure why they did this, but they might have a good reason for that. Yeah. So, whenever I ask you to create a new application, yeah, you may choose this empty views activity. Okay, not the empty activity. Now you might ask, sir, what is the difference between the empty activity and the empty views? Yeah, in the empty activity, you just create the application logic, but without the interface. So you should be careful. If you want to create one package of logic and interface, then you must select the empty views activity. Yeah. Okay, you must choose the empty views activity. Okay. Then you might ask another question, sir, what does it mean by the, activity? Yeah, so in Android, we don't say pages. So let's say if your application has two pages, yeah, home and profile, or maybe another page such as payment, checkout, etc., we don't call them as pages. Okay, so they are not pages, but instead we call them as activity. Yeah, so if you open Instagram, let's say one of the example, if you open Instagram, you see all the feeds right now. That is activity for homepage. If you click search, therefore there is activity for search. If you click profile to see the follower, therefore there is activity for follower. Yeah. So we don't call it pages, but we call it as activity. Okay. You might call it view also, but most of the time Android developer call it activity. Yeah. So let's continue. We choose the empty views activity. And then next, now, this is the important step that you need to pay attention to. Okay, you can change your application name here. So here, let's say we call it as tutorial Android. Just choose whatever you want later. And then the second part, package name, do not change. Just leave it be. Yeah, so tutorial Android is our application name. The package name, just leave it be, do not change. And then save location, yeah, this is up to you. You want to save in this C, D, or whatever you want. It's up to you. Yeah, and the most important part of this is the language. Okay, you can choose between Java and Kotlin. Yeah, I will not forbid you from using Kotlin. So if you want to use Kotlin, go ahead. I don't mind. I will not be angry. Yeah. But if you want to follow all the tutorials from the slides, all of them are written in Java. So make sure you choose Java instead of Kotlin here. Yeah. Choose Java, not Kotlin. Okay. But you are free to try if you want. And then last but not least is the SDK. Yeah. So what does it mean by the SDK? Here you can choose whatever you want, like Nougat, Oreo, Marshmallow, and the other version. Okay, yeah, but this is the minimum. So what does it mean by minimum? Yeah, it means that this application can run on Android device that is Android Nougat. Yeah, so if the phone is not Android Nougat, let's say still Marshmallow, still what is L, Lollipop. Now, yeah, if the Android is still Lollipop or Marshmallow, therefore the phone cannot run the application. Yeah, that is what it means. Okay, so this is minimum Android version. Yeah, you can choose whatever you like here. Okay, but usually Android Studio will give you the best version, it's the minimum. So they assume that Nougat is the minimum version now. Yeah, after you put the name, you choose Java, you choose the minimum SDK, and then just finish. That's it. Yeah, you might need to wait a little bit until it finishes loading the application. And there you go. You have Android Studio ready to program your mobile application. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So if you have Android Studio already, should be good. But it's okay. I'll try to explain to you first. Yeah. So you take a look at this screen. You have three different sections. You have the left part. As usual, this is like VS Code. Yeah. You can check the content of the file. The middle part is where you code, and the right part is where you manage the utilities. Okay, I will start first from the right part. So the right part here will show like how many emulator you have. Yeah, is the running emulator. Okay, and so on. So you can turn on the emulator if you want here for the sake of simplicity, because I present it using this laptop. Yeah, I don't want to turn this because it will be really slow and there will be some delay. Okay, when we meet in class, I will just use this. Yeah, so let me close that one. Now we are left with two parts of the Android Studio. Yeah, this is something that is already, familiar to you. It's like the VS Code. But what I want to show you now here is on the left side. Yeah, the structure of the Android application. So if you can see this clearly, I will open this folder. As you can see, we have three folders inside. Yeah, we have manifest, we have Java, we have REST. Okay, I will explain to you one by one, starting from the manifest. What is the manifest? If I open this file and let's see the content. Yeah, this manifest file tells us about the starting part of the Android application. Yeah, so this is the first door. Whenever we open an application, this file will be used. Okay, so what is the content of this file? Yeah, I will give you an example like this. If you open Instagram, you will see Instagram logo, like, yeah, or maybe today you find news on X or Twitter. Once you click the application, you will see the logo. You can set the logo of the application in this file. So if you see here Android icon, now, yeah, this is the Android icon. So you can set the icons or logo of your application in this file. Yeah, you can also give the label, and you can also put what is the main activity or homepage or main page of this application. So like Instagram, when you click it, it opens and it shows the activity. Okay. Beside that one, you can also change the theme if you want. Later, you can find some way to change the theme. Also, you can put permission. What kind of permission? Yeah, if you open application, some applications might ask the permission to use, you know, microphone, yeah, location, what else? Accessing contacts, yeah, using SMS, or maybe even open another application. Yeah, let's say you buy something from e-commerce and then you connect it with your GoPay. Nah, so you put all the permission here. Okay, so this is where everything is happening. Yeah, you can also say that this is the configuration file for your application. Okay, so this is manifest. And then the second part of the folder, yeah, let's focus on the left part again. It will be our Java file. Yeah, you have 3 folders here, but just focus on top because the other is just testing file. Yeah, so if you open this again, you have main activity. Now, this is the content of our Java file. Okay, so in Java, it's normal for us to end the file name with activity. So if it is your main activity, you call it as main activity. If you have payment page, therefore you call it as payment activity.java. If you have checkout, therefore checkout activity. If you have register, therefore register activity. So different kind of naming convention. Yeah, there is no written rule for that, but all of the Android programmers usually use the same rule. And because this is Java file, if you check the content of the file, this is totally similar with what we have learned inside object-oriented programming. You see, all of the OOP pillars are there. Yeah, class, main activity. See that? Yeah, this is totally similar to abstraction. Then you have public, you have protected. Yeah, if you still remember that one. Yeah, therefore, there is encapsulation. Everything is encapsulated. Yeah, public, private, protected. And then this class main activity extends. See, inheritance. Yeah, and last but not least, you have override here. Now, this is the polymorphism. Okay, so all the concepts that we have learned in object-oriented programming is really useful inside the mobile application programming. Yeah, and every single application in Android, the source code will have this part. Okay, you should be careful not to remove everything from here. Yeah, so this function on create, okay, will show you the page that you need in your mobile phone. Yeah, so how can you show the user interface? Yeah, this class will show the user interface. Therefore, do not remove anything. Yeah, once again, if you want to add something later on, you have some examples from the slides. Yeah, do not replace this. Okay, do not delete this. Never. Then you ask, sir, what if I want to add something? Yeah, just add it below. Nah. Okay. So you can add everything below the source code. Yeah, so this one, once again, do not remove. If you remove this, your application cannot work. Okay, you must add the source code below. Okay, now that is your logic. So in this Java file, you can put logic like if else, checking database, yeah, while loop, okay, saving into database, insert, update the data, delete the data, you do it here. Okay, so the Java file contains your logic. And there is no interface inside the Java file. Yeah, I hope you get the idea. Therefore, the next thing, what about the interface? What if I want to show the user interface to the user? What if I want to design the user interface? Yeah. In Java, Android especially, we have a pair of files. In the logic, you have main activity.java. Therefore, it is normal for us to have the user interface and the name is activity underscore main dot xml. So the format of the view is inside XML. Okay. And if you see the connection here, yeah, main activity.java, the XML is activity underscore main. Therefore, if you have register activity.java, therefore the name of the view is activity underscore register.xml. Now, if you have login activity.java, therefore you have activity underscore login.xml. Yeah, so it's pretty normal for the developers to have that kind of name. Okay, And if you are ready, let's see how we can design the user interface. Yeah. Now let us open the activity main.xml. Nah, so this is how it looks like for the XML. And yes, it's pretty interesting for us. In Android Studio, you can design your user interface by just drag and drop. Okay. But before we go there, I will explain to you what is the difference of these two side-by-side view. You might ask, sir, why are there two design? Yeah. The first design on the left is something that you see on your mobile screen. Okay. So this is the actual thing that you see on the left. Yeah. If you run the application, therefore you can see the hello world part. Then what about the right side? Now, the right side is the blueprint of your application. It tells you what is inside your screen. So as an example, you see hello world, but the blueprint says that, okay, this is a text view, meaning we just only showing the text. Yeah. So here you can just design, let's say I want to move it here. Now you can move. Okay, and the blueprint will also move. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. Yeah. And then what if I want to add something, sir? Nah, let us follow my cursor here. Yeah. It is located on the left part of the Android Studio. You can choose what component that you want to use. Now you have text. Okay, you have buttons. Now you have widgets, layout, yeah, containers. Okay, even Google, if you want to put some Google Map view, it's also possible. Yeah. So as an example, I want to add a button. So I go to buttons and just simply drag and drop the button into the view. And that's it. I have the button. Okay, I can resize the button as I wish. I can replace it below or in the center like this. Yeah, it's pretty easy. Drag and drop. Okay, you get the idea. And then you might ask, sir, this is the button. And then I want to change the text. How can I do that? Yeah. Now, after you drag and drop something from the left, let us follow the cursor again to the right. Yeah. So slowly there, we go to the right. Here you will find a small part that is called as attributes. If you click attributes, now you can change everything about the button. Yeah. So step number one, you click the button that you want to change, then go to attribute. Okay, there are so many attributes that you can change from the color, from the font. Yeah, there are so many things. To be honest, personally, I don't memorize all of them. So better for you to try to see what are inside. See, there are so many attributes that you can use. Yeah, and then let's see. We can change the text here. So like this one, nah, can change the text. Let's say I want to change the text of the button become click me. And then when I hit enter, the text is changed. So you can design your user interface by doing drag and drop and then changing the attributes. Okay. And beside that one, before I forget, let's go back to the left part. Yeah. On the bottom left, you see we have component tree. Okay, sir, what does it mean by component tree? Yeah, this component tree shows how many things are there in your page or in your activity. So let's say in this screen, on this screen, I have two components. The first one is the text, hello world. The second one is the button, click me. Yeah, so I have two different components inside. Therefore, we can see I have the text view, I have the button. Yeah, and if you click this, it will focus on the components. Okay? Okay, sir. That is the first method. Sir, is there any other method to do this? Yeah. So now let's go to the top right part. Yeah, follow the cursor again. See, you have three different icons here: the code, the split, and the design. Right now, we are in the design. Okay, so the design section is you can drag and drop easily. Yeah, but what if, sir, I'm not sure whether it is easy for me to change everything from the attributes. Yeah, what about if I just want to change it via the source code? Yes, it's possible. So you can choose the code part. Yeah, here you can select code part, and then you will see the source code inside. So this is the representation of the view design that we just created. Yeah, all okay. You can also combine the view of the source code and the design by just clicking the split icon here. So these three icons, yeah, the left part is the source code, the middle part is split, the right part is the design. So drag and drop. Okay, you can do both also by doing this split. Let's see, split. Now we have this design. Okay. And then you can have more control here. So for me personally, it is better to use the source code and combine it with the design. Yeah. Let's see. I want to change the text "Hello World" now into something else. Let's say I just change the contents become tutorial Android, thing like this. So the text will directly be changed. Yeah. If you like to work with source code, therefore this is a good thing. Yeah. And then let's say yeah, you are too lazy to calculate the center thing. Now you just need to drag and drop. If you notice, the source code will directly change. See, it directly changes. Yeah. So it is adaptive. Okay. Or maybe if you want to change this text size, yeah, you can also guessing. Sometimes guessing is good. Yeah, like Android text size now. So you can change the text size maybe to 14 points. It becomes bigger. Okay. So it is normal for the Android developer to combine the source code and the design all at once. Yeah. So you change something in the code, it is reflected on the screen. You can also drag and drop this one, yeah, to make sure that the design is based on your needs. Okay. Later on in the future, you can find some libraries, yeah, or some theme, some templates that you can use. You are allowed to do so. Yeah, so for the matter of design, you just need to know the concept behind it, and then you do the design. Yeah. So this is how we can change the design. It's up to you. You like to code, use the source code. If you like to design, just use the design, drag and drop like this. Yeah. If you like to do both, therefore just use the split. Nah. Okay. This is how we design the interface in Android. So you don't have to be afraid. Now you can also use coding and design at the same time. Yeah, I hope that everything is clear here until now. Any question first? If you have any, feel free to ask. Yeah, everyone's giving thumb up. Therefore, I hope that it's good. Then let's see. Yeah, this should be careful and should follow. Okay, someone's raising hand. No, maybe click it wrongly. Yeah, it's okay though. No problem. This one I've told you before. Yeah, the manifest, the Java file. Okay, contains the logic for the Java file. This is the XML. Before I forget, okay, let me explain to you one more thing about the folders. Yeah, the last folder that we have is res. Okay, the first is manifest folder, contains the start application. The Java folder contains the logic, and then last is the rest. Yeah, the rest here contains several folders. Okay, the drawable folder usually contain your images. So if you want to put image in your mobile application, now you place them inside the drawable. Okay, the folder layout contain your XML. This design is, the source code design is located inside the layout folder. As you can see. Then you have map. Yeah, what is map? In Android world, they call the map as your icon. Okay, so you have the icon for your application starting from the smallest one until the biggest one. Huh? And then you have values and then the other XML stuff. So please be careful, all the layout will be located inside the layout folder. Okay? And last but not least, at the bottom, you see you have Gradle scripts. There are so many files there, but my warning is that do not touch or change anything inside this file. Why? This file is sensitive. If you accidentally change something, I'm sorry, your application might not work as intended. Okay, so you should be careful when dealing with this, files. In the future, we will use that. Yeah, but not for now. Okay, especially when we want to work with the libraries outside the Android. Okay. So this is the content of the Android Studio and how to use it. Yeah, to run the application is pretty simple. You have seen the triangle stuff. Yeah, it's similar. Just click and run and that's it. Okay, and let's see what's next. This is already good. This is already good. This is something that we can try later on. Yeah. Okay, yeah. This is the things that I've taught you before. Yeah, so nothing different. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Yeah, I've also put this slide on eCampus. You can access this. This is something that I've taught you before. Here, yeah, this one, you see the layout types and then the palette, the attributes panel, okay, component tree, the design and blueprint, okay, the XML. Now, this is something that we have seen. Yeah, this is something that I've taught you also earlier. Okay, and then if we go to the layout, I will save the details of the meeting for the next week. Yeah, because it will be really good for us to meet in class and then it will be easier for me to explain this to you. In Android, most of the time you have three main layouts that you can use. You have linear layout, you have relative layout, you have constraint layout. Yeah, so let's see. The linear layout, yeah, as the name implies, you have linear model. Okay, so if you want to create something like row by row or column by column, better use linear layout. You have two types of orientation. Yeah, the orientation could be horizontal or vertical, top to bottom. Okay, so let's see the example. It looks like this. Okay, so if you want to put some images, maybe side by side horizontally, therefore you can use linear layout horizontal. Okay, if you have something that you want to show vertically, like from top to bottom, like maybe news post or maybe images scroll from top to bottom, therefore you use linear layout orientation vertical. Okay, and then the weight, I will tell you about that one during class session. Yeah, now like this, it looks like this. Okay, so this is linear layout vertical, yeah, from top to bottom. Okay, and then relative layout. The next layout that we can use is relative layout, and it looks like this. It will give you something like this. But to be honest, it is rare for us to see the usage of relative layout anymore. Okay, this is pretty outdated, and then most of the developers will not use it anymore. Although it's fun to use, but when it comes to different screen size, it is not really responsive. Okay, for the relative layout. So I'll just skip it through, and then we come to something called as the constraint layout. Yeah, so the constraint layout is the most powerful layout of all. and this become the standard for the web developers, especially if you design by using Android Studio drag and drop. Okay, constraint layout can be combined with the linear layout, to achieve something such as the complex layouting process like this. So what does it mean by constraint? I'll just give you some short explanation first. Let's say you have one button, one button on the left side, another button on the right side. Okay, so you have left button and the right button. We can say that the left button is located at the left position of button B. We call button A button B, sorry, to make it easier. Button A is located on the left side of button B. And then button B is located at the right side of button A. By using this constraint, these two buttons are connected to each other. Left and right, A and B. Therefore, if you change the page, no matter how big or small it is, these two buttons will still be located side by side. Okay, because they are constrained. And then you can combine the constraint layout with the linear layout, as I've told you before, like this. You see this one, This is linear horizontal, these three boxes. And then below it is linear vertical. Let's say you want to force using the relative layout. This is the relative layout. Okay. But if you see something carefully again, all of this can be inside a linear layout. So this is linear vertical. This is the first row, this is the second row, and also this is the last row. If you see the bigger picture, you can combine the linear and the constraint layout once. We'll see more details when we meet in class. It will be really easier for us to see. When we design and when you have your Android Studio installed already. Okay, the constraint. Let me skip this one. Save it for the class meetings. And we have this. Where is it? The UI. Now, so the common UI components that we can use, there are plenty. You can show the text by using text view, normal text. You can show something to type, like typing your email, typing your name by using edit text. This one. Okay. And you can also use button. You can show the image. You can also use checkbox and radio button. This is really similar to the HTML part, or maybe inside the visual programming part, also similar. Toggle. Then spinner. Okay, spinner is like selection in HTML. So if HTML use select, therefore in Android we use spinner. It's like drop down and you can choose one data from each of them. Okay, and then you can use also progress bar. You can use the circle progress bar or horizontal. You have something called as a sig bar. It's like the volume. Okay, and then switch to turn on and off something. Rating. For this one, I apologize also. Date picker and time picker. It's like the calendar. You can choose the date and time. But I'm having some trouble in, screenshotting the section of this input, therefore it is not shown. I apologize for the funny thing that you saw. It's like empty text, but it's actually that picker. Okay, and then tab layout and some image button. So you can drag and drop your application layout, put it in your screen, and then you can start coding. Okay, is that understandable so far?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if so far so good, then this is the things that you can use now. Yeah, because this is the first meeting, I will let you finish the installation process first, so you can try this by yourself, and I'll take this as one part of the participation score. So please follow the tutorials from the slides, the second slide, slide number 2, to create this simple application. So this will be a simple application. Once you type your name inside, and then you click the button here, it will show your name. Yeah. So use this as your exercise. I will take it as part of your participation, percentage. Okay. Next week we'll be discussing in detail about this one and also about the layouting. Yeah. So the layout, the constraint layout, and this part. Okay, constraint layout, linear layout, and then the what do you call it? The relative layout. Okay. Now you can follow all the steps here. Yeah, so everything is already step by step. Okay, remember to choose empty fuse activity. Yeah, to choose the Java programming language. Okay. This one. Disclaimer one more time. The source code here might be different. Yeah, so remember, do not remove anything that you saw in the Android Studio. Okay, now you can drag and drop something. You can change the text. Okay, everything is here. You can follow through. And then you may do some experiment. Yeah. Now you have a button. And then you set everything up. And you can put some logic here. Now, see, you can put some logic here. Okay. And then we have something called as a toast. Yeah, a toast is like the pop-up to show some information. So last but not least, you can try to run, type some names. Yeah, disclaimer, this is not the slides that I've made. It was created by another lecturer, so there is no funky intention here. Yeah, so you click something and then it will show some names below as the toast and then it will just disappear. Okay, you may try this. All the steps are there on the slides. Yeah, any question? Before I close the session, make sure you use the rest of the time to download Android Studio, install, and then try to run this exercise. Okay, if you got no questions whatsoever, then before I close the session, I will reconfirm this one more time. This class was handled by Rifki. So every information that might be given, I will give it to Rifki first. Yeah, and then Rifki will help me to distribute the message to the class. Okay, if there is no question, and hopefully everything is already calming down the next week, and therefore next week we'll be seeing each other face to face in the campus, if I'm not mistaken. If you check who is, it will be in B103. Yes, Ida, any question? Why do you raise your hand?
Sir, I have been absent.
Okay, for the attendance, I'll just check all the what do you call it, participant of the slide of the meeting. Okay, so I've taken some screenshots. Yeah, so you don't have to worry about that one. But for the classroom session, as usual, we will have some manual attendance. Okay, and make sure, one more thing before I forget, make sure you don't come late to the class because based on our last meeting with the faculty, we decided to have the attendance session 15 minutes after the class starts. Yeah, so 9:30 until 9:45. Okay, we'll be more disciplined now. So if you have not come, until 9:15, more than 9:15, therefore, I'm sorry, I will consider you as absent. Okay, just to put some order in the class. Yeah, but other than that, we'll try to be as civilized as we can. Okay, so I believe most of you are here in the class. That's good. Then, I'll recap the attendance later after this. If you got no more question, guys, I guess that's it for today. So have a good day.